thank you guys for tuning in to the weekly legal review. We're so blessed to have a criminal defense attorney, one of the best in the nation. We have Calvin Johnson here tonight. Calvin, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Just happy to have you back. Trying to get back going, man, living life, man. God is good. I'm here another day. So let's roll.
It's good to be back. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So how are things going in the legal world with you and the hustle and bustle of the legal cases you have?
Man, I'm doing okay, man. I had some life issues come up. My aunt and great aunt passed back to back in consecutive days, the mother and daughter. So we were going through that, and I had to slow my legal work down for a little bit. I had to take some time for me and reflect, man. But hey, of course, I'm watching this news and I'm watching Trump and some of the things that he's doing. And hey, this is a very unique time. I think that some of the MAGA folks are kind of regretting what they've done because they're losing jobs. Companies are shutting down, laying large amounts of people off. And so it's been different out here right now.
You know, Donald Trump had so many promises, especially in comparison to Joe Biden. He said he would bring about a big change, but actually the job numbers are down. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he gave a big tax breaks to these companies and these CEOs. And a lot of these people have taken that situation and just tried to turn everything into profits. And what they're doing is trying to figure out how they can cut their workforce. Artificial intelligence is coming in a little bit, and there's different things that they can do to cut the workforce. And they're taking an opportunity to cut the workforce down, and it's costing a lot of people in a lot of sectors. I mean, there's a lot of big companies laying off hundreds and even thousands of people. So that's huge.
You know, rumor has it that when you don't have jobs, it increases the crime in the local community. So how does that work when they're actually sending in the National Guard to fight crime, but also we can't get a job?
Hey, man, it's going to be interesting because, people turn to the streets when they can't make their money at regular jobs. So this is going to get extremely interesting. I mean, you got police in the street, you got ICE in the street, you got National Guard in the street, but you got people that don't have jobs and people are not making any money. So you got a double effect of, especially in some of these cities, they can't find jobs. And then you got the National Guard coming in and in some situations, even ICE coming in. So that can be very, very interesting.
I have a friend that works at Facebook, and there's hardly any blacks that work there, even whites. It's mostly foreign individuals. So what are your thoughts when you see a lot of people coming into the country with these visas and they have 2 to 3 degrees? We also have AI on the way. How will the minorities make it?
Man, those H-1B visas is what I hear. And what happens is that people don't understand. When they get those foreign workers come over, they can work on the desk because if you complain, they can just take your visa back and you going back where you're from. So you can get paid a salary allegedly, but they can make you work overtime. They can really, really push you hard. And you're not going to be able to go say anything about it because what is your resolve? Your resolve is, okay, I can go tell it on a company, but the company may let me go and decide to send me back where I'm from. And so you're in a situation where they can work you harder, pay you less, not pay you for overtime. And those companies are taking full advantage of that while we're pointing at the other workforces and saying, hey, they're illegal, get them out of here. The companies are taking advantage of the H-1B visas and bringing people over here to work and working them to death. So, I don't think it's fair when you look at it all.
Now, do you think this is just how the cookie crumbles, or do you think there's a bigger play of the higher powers that be making it this way for minorities?
I think it is a higher power. And to be honest with you, I tell people all the time, Donald Trump wise, he opens up new avenues for businesses, which is a good thing. But also he's a profiteer. So he is going to try to profit every situation that he gets involved in, even the presidency itself. And some people, he's just doing it to help us. He's just doing it to save the country and this and that. No. I seriously doubt that. I mean, maybe on one hand, he wants to help America change. I get that. I give him some of that. But he's in this to make a profit, everybody. He's always done that. So it's not surprising to me that he has created situations where he can profit. A lot of the big CEOs, a lot of the big donors, a lot of people that give him a lot of money, he's giving them a lot of leeway in his new administration, and he's pushing policies that are going to cut their tax rates.
Right. What are your thoughts in regards to this whole Epstein dilemma when you see some of the victims coming out talking about their actual experiences?
Man, I had watched that whole episode on once on Netflix talking about Epstein and some of the things that those girls went through. Uh, uh, they said that the lady, I guess Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, she actually was recruiting girls. She would get girls that had already been over to Epstein. They would slowly trick them in and slowly groom them into doing a little bit more than massages. And then they would have those girls go get some of their friends and invite them over. So there was a whole system set up where they would do this. And if you ever complained, if you told the police out there in Florida, they would turn a blind eye, or Epstein would give a big donation. And then when they did catch him on one, they let him do house arrest, but it wasn't really house arrest because he could leave and return. I mean, he literally could walk around and do whatever he wanted because he had all of that money. And then those people who complained about what happened to them, those people in Florida really didn't take them seriously.
So when it comes to the actual victims, you'll hear them often say that Ghislaine Maxwell actually was involved in these acts. Why would they give her a softer prison or perhaps even pardon her under those circumstances?
I think because she knows a lot. She knows a lot of people that are connected to them, and she knows a lot of them that were connected to that situation. That's my guesstimate. My guesstimate is that she knows some of these people that are cutting her breaks. They were involved in this Epstein stuff, and they were doing a lot of stuff in this Epstein stuff. So I think that you do that, number one, to keep her quiet. Number one, to have her talk favorable about you. Number two is to make sure that she doesn't expose a lot of the people that were doing some of the things that we were complaining about people doing in this Epstein situation.
Now, from a legal standpoint, Donald Trump actually showed the video where he actually said out of his own mouth that Ghislaine as well as Epstein were actually taking girls from Mar-a-Lago. Were you shocked to hear the president actually admit to that, especially from a civil level?
No, I wasn't surprised. I've long thought that he had been involved at some point with Epstein, and at some point had been involved in that situation with the trafficking. I don't know to exactly what extent, but I do feel like he knows what Epstein was doing. Epstein knows what he was doing. And it wouldn't surprise me that somehow he's either protecting Epstein or he's protecting himself. So a lot of stuff doesn't get out.
Right. Do you see this going away in time, or do you think it's going to be an ultimate failure of the president?
I don't think it's going to go away. I think people will continue to talk about it. I think even when you try to make it go away, people are going to start talking about it even more. And so when they start talking about it even more, Mel, I just don't see it just flat out going bye-bye. I mean, somebody's going to bring it up. They're going to continue to bring it up. And if you get a new administration, then all bets are off because they're going to go in. If they see anything that's going to be detrimental, they're going to expose it.
Right. You know, a lot of people say that this whole MAGA movement was a cult, right? And that Epstein was he was the center of it because they basically hung their hat saying, listen, this guy is the center of all these atrocious things, right? But now it's turning out that Donald Trump and other people that are part of MAGA are involved in the situation. We don't know to what degree. Do you think that makes a big deal?
I think it does. And the reason why I say that is because they campaign on how bad this is, how bad what he was doing is, and then come to find out he definitely was involved at somewhat in this situation, and he knew Epstein. He had a decently close relationship to Mr. Epstein, and so that's a very, very interesting way to look at things when you look at everything that Mr. Epstein was accused of. You look at Ms. Maxwell and what she was accused of, and the fact that she is kind of getting soft treatment at a low minimum security prison right now. And she was the second in control, second in command with Epstein. And this president is allowing that under his Justice Department tells us a lot.
Right. Do you think that it's a issue that both parts of the aisle is involved with Epstein, and maybe that's why there has been a reluctance of releasing the files?
I think there is. I think there's going to be a lot of senators. I mean, I heard Clinton had ties to it. Trump had ties to it. And when you got two people that are diametrically opposed like that, and they have these connections, it would not surprise me that it would be people on both sides of the aisle involved with Epstein in some way, shape, form, or fashion, either with the trafficking or donations and money.
You know what I find to be interesting is that no one has come forward, no female has come forward and said Donald Trump actually did this to me. And I find that to be intriguing when it comes to the accusations. There's nothing solid on him.
And I do find, and that's what I'm very careful about when I speak about that, because I don't want to accuse somebody of doing something that they did not do. But at the same time, I'm curious to see what kind of situations are out there involving him, especially with everything that went on with his other lawyer. I've got the Michael guy, the guy that ended up going to prison for paying the money off. But when I look at some of the relationships he's had with people and some of the ways that he's made things go away, it wouldn't surprise me that there's somebody out there that could say something, but he may have paid them off. Or with that being said, maybe he's not involved as much as we think he is, and maybe he's just involved with Epstein business-wise. That's why I'm very careful about what I say, but there's some very curious behavior around him, Epstein, and Maxwell that really makes me raise my eyebrow and say, hey, man, how are you connected to these people to the point where you are giving her a really light hand here?
Yeah, the young lady, Virginia Giuffre, I believe, she's the one that unalived herself earlier this year. She's the one that Donald Trump actually said was taken from Mar-a-Lago around the age of 16 or 17. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this takes a turn, in regards to her. But I wonder, when it comes to the the group that has come out now, will that make it easier for other people to jump in and say, okay, because Virginia, she was by herself making these claims.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder. But when you have a group out there, wouldn't it be easier for others to come forward?
I think people are scared right now. Donald Trump wields a lot of power. As you noticed, even the people that went after him when he wasn't president, he has came back and he's went for their necks. And a lot of people have noticed that. And that's the concern that I have with him as a whole. It seemed like the guardrails that we had in place to where we could hold presidents, whether it's Biden, Obama, and Trump, accountable are gone. Because when they come back in power, they can go for retribution. And it seems like the systems and institutions that were in place or that were supposed to be in place to stop them, it seems like they're not working as well as they have in the past. And so sometimes it wouldn't surprise me that if somebody wanted to come out, they're going to think once, twice, or three times before they do it because they know what kind of power this man wields.
So we have the midterm elections approaching fast. Do you think this will have some negative effect on it?
I think it could, but the Democrats can't get out of their own way. I had a conversation with a lady named Dorothy Burton. She has this podcast called Real Talk, Real Truth. And we have this conversation all the time. And my whole deal is they have forgotten the kitchen table issues. When I say Democrats, kitchen table issues, regular people like me, I got a family and a wife and a regular house and a regular job, factory workers, farmers, everyday workers that went to college, got the degrees, and just want to work a job. They're not focused on them. They're more focused on abortion and LGBTQ issues. They're more focused on environmental stuff and some of the other stuff that's over to the far left. And don't get me wrong, I want every person in that community to be taken care of, not feel threatened, not feel discriminated against. And women, if they want to be able to get abortions, that I biblically am opposed to abortions, but I can't tell a woman what to do with her body. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to begin to do that. So I want them to have the ability to be able to do whatever they want. But at the end of the day, that's not my major concern. I'm not worried about an abortion. I'm not worried about what an immigrant can and can't do. I'm not as worried about LGBTQ issues as being a priority for me. My priority is myself, my family, my wife, my child. Can she get an education? Will she have a future in the United States? My friends that lose their jobs, the people that I know that are close to me, how they're going to be able to make it because of the cutting of some of the federal programs. That's what I'm more concerned with. I'm not as concerned with what stuff on the far left is. And I think the Democratic Party, because they are not able to capitalize on what I'm telling them, and other people are telling them, it's not just me. I think they're still not in a position to capitalize off this like they could. They might capitalize on it, but if they got their their ducks in a row. They really could capitalize on what's happening in America, but they won't do it.
Yeah, it seems that Newsom seems to be the individual that's really coming out aggressively at this time. What do you think?
I think he is, and I think he's attempted to try to broach some of those conversations that I talked about. He's talked about, like even in California, things with some of the transgender athletes and some of that. I think he has probably been one of the more vocal people that said, that really should not be happening. We should not be doing that the way we're doing it. And he's getting a lot of pushback when he starts to do that. And I think the problem is he could be a very valid candidate, but the far left is going to pull him so far left that the average person like me, regular people with jobs, people, regular families, people that are not LGBTQ or not worried about abortions, just want to make sure that we can take care of our families. The left is going to pull him so far left that, and the party won't allow him to correct it. And at the end of the day, even though he's maybe popular, I don't think he can win.
All right. So we have a lot of people here in the chat. Thank you guys for all the great comments. We've been checking you out. Thank you for all the support. We'd like to ask you, if you could, to hit the like button, give us a like, a share, subscription to give some support to the channel. Also, we'd like to have Calvin tell you guys, as a defense attorney, criminal defense attorney, how he can be reached.
I can be reached a number of ways on my website at theywon'tletmeout.com. My phone number is 214-565-5600. And my email is attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. So that's how you can get in touch with me. And of course, we do this show 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 o'clock New York time, every Sunday night. Me and Mel, we do the weekly legal review, and we've been doing this almost for about 3 months now. We have a huge following. We want you to like and subscribe to Mel's channel, as well as DJ Genesis, the person who produces our show, DJ Genesis Detroit, as well as Watching the World 777. Please like and subscribe to both of those channels.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. That was awesomely said. So listen, let me ask you something. When it comes to Donald Trump, it appears that this time around, he came in with a whole crew. And what I mean is, you have this whole Project 2025. It looked like they came in strategically, and they had certain things that they had to get accomplished in the first 2 years, 4 years, blase, blase. In the big scheme of things, do you think that these items are going to be turned around at some point, or do you think they're going to dramatically change basically the way the America exists?
I think some of them will be turned around, but a lot of them are going to stay. I tell people all the time, when it comes to illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, that's a whole issue for the Democratic Party that they have to deal with. And when I say they have to deal with that, is because there are a lot of people in America that say, hey, if you come over here, you got to come over here the right way. And then in the African-American community, which is the Democrats' largest, most faithful base, a lot of us are saying, well, wait a minute, you bring them over here, you take care of them, you spend a lot of money on them. We've been asking for money for years, and we're your number one vote supporter. And so you got a lot of issues like that that are going to rear their ugly heads. And that's going to be one of the problems. It's going to be one of the major issues with the Democratic Party moving forward.
Yeah. Here's a good case in point. Robert Kennedy and his whole position on vaccines, I think, is quite dramatic, wouldn't you say?
It is, but I think they're going to turn that around, Mel, because I think there's a lot of numbers going up. The COVID numbers are going up. Unfortunately, COVID played a part in taking my aunt and my great aunt. And
sorry.
So when you talk about that, that has directly affected me, because no mask, don't want to give people this, want to give people that. And even if they're playing it safe, like my aunt and great aunt are playing it safe, other people are not. And so what's happening is the COVID numbers are back up. In addition to that, I've heard in some states, measles is coming back. Mumps are coming back. So you got situations where kids are not getting vaccinated. Vaccinations are not being mandated. And so for the kids that are not getting vaccinations, they can affect the kids that are not getting the vaccinations. And so I think there's a huge problem there. And I think that even some Republicans that are doctors that happen to be in Congress are pushing back against RFK Robert Kennedy for some of his positions on vaccines and some of the medical stuff that's going on out here.
We're starting to see a lot of guys and girls that are big parts of conspiracy theories, getting into government, making changes. Then you see Marjorie Greene take a whole different position on Trump. And now people are starting to push back on Robert Kennedy. Like, what's really going on in the country?
I think people are waking up. And when I say they're waking up, they know Trump promised more jobs. They know he promised a booming economy. The economy right now is not good right now. There's a lot of people losing their jobs. There's a lot of companies that are shutting down. There's a lot of companies that some employee illegals can't employ people to be able to do jobs that some of those illegals were doing. There are a lot of government jobs that were cut. There's a lot of AI jobs that were regular jobs that are now getting cut. And so there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot going on with people just rubber stamping whatever he does because they're looking at the situation. They're looking at those huge tax breaks. They're looking at the job losses. And then they're starting to also look, like you said, look at some of the diseases that are coming back. The COVID is rearing its head again. Some of the school yard vaccines that we used to get, people are not getting them. And then those numbers start to jump back up. And so people are realizing that they better pay attention instead of just rubber stamping what this man wants to do all the time.
Right. Shouldn't they have some measures in government so that you just can't get somebody off Fox that's a conspiracy theorist and now they're running the biggest departments of government?
They should, because this is a prime example of that. They've gotten this man out here and he is doing crazy stuff. He's not a doctor. He doesn't have any medical training, and he's running a medical wing. And he's not taken enough upon himself to learn about things so that he can actually take some serious positions to keep some of this stuff from happening out here. And so we got to be careful. We got to have some guardrails on some of these people. There should be something in the future to make sure that these people don't get confirmed. But that's what Congress is supposed to do. Congress is supposed to stand up even to their own candidate, even to their own president. If they think he's doing something or appointing somebody that's not legitimate or not qualified, they're supposed to stand up.
Yeah, this week we saw a large display of strength when it came to China, Russia, India, and even North Korea. Why do you think people in this country often would choose racism over making a better choice of building this country up unitedly instead of, what we're seeing now?
They feel like they're losing this country. Let's just be honest. I mean, they saw the number of immigrants that were being let in here. They see the increasing Hispanic population, and they see things like abortion being pushed, especially on some of the white women, and then that's reducing the number of babies that are born. And so they don't want to find themselves being the minority in America, and then have another group of people be in a position to tell them what to do. And I always tell people, it's not an indictment of them. I mean, if I had had this country for 400 and some odd years and a new group of people were coming in trying to take it over, maybe I don't want them to take it over. Some people will, oh man, that's crazy you're saying. And no, I mean, that's just being realistic. I mean, if we had our own country and the coast of Africa, and we had a group of Indians that were coming in trying to take it over, and it went some years, of course, I'm going to push back against them taking it over. So we should not be surprised that they are trying to push back to make sure that America stays mainly Anglo, or that they're pushing back and put themselves in a position to where even if America starts to turn, the Anglos will offset the power by redistricting, taking main positions like in government, like mayors, senators and state houses, governors and presidents. They're going to do things to make sure that they stay in control of America. And we should not be surprised by any of it.
A lot of these particular countries, their pushback on Donald Trump's tariffs was to join BRICS. And so now BRICS is picking up several other countries by the boatload. So what are your thoughts?
Well, that's the thing. They're gonna put tariffs on our stuff. And so now some of these American companies, I've heard, I was watching something on one of the news show, one American company, the tariffs have completely killed their company. because of the amount of money that the other country has to pay to get the product that they're producing. And so we got to start thinking about that. Some of these tariffs, they can do reverse tariffs. They can do some of the same things you're doing to them. And there are going to be companies and industries in America that cannot survive when that happens, because we have a lot of labor laws, we have a lot of rules and regulations, and other people in other countries don't have those same rules and regulations. And so when you make a big deal and you now your item is getting charged a 25% tariff and your profit was 25%, then what do?
So let me ask you a question. Do you think it's a pipe dream to think that the United States is still the leader of the world?
I would say it still is, because of what we can do, because of our military might. But business-wise, I don't know anymore. I think that the power is in the hand of a selected few and Americans. And I think that other countries are caught up to us financially. But I think because of our military might and our policy might, I think we still control what happens in the world.
Right. Amazing. So let me ask you a personal question. As you move forward with your own business and your own life, do you have fears about the economy
I
and
do.
what's going to happen to the minorities in the country?
I do, because a lot of my clients are minorities, and a lot of my clients, I get money from people who commit crimes or who need my services after they make life mistakes. And a lot of those people will not have money to be able to hire me if this continues. In addition to that, I have 3 or 4 employees that depend on me. I try to take care of them, and then I have a family to take care of myself. So I take care of my family, my extended family, the families of 3 or 4 people that work for me, and I give and I serve in the community. I just donated one of my friends as the head basketball coach at Howard Payne University, and I just bought a locker, gave a donation. I gave a donation to Queen City Homeowners Association. I gave a donation to Dixon Circle Community Association, where I grew up. And so I do a lot of stuff in the community, and people like myself are going to be less likely, number one, to give, and number two, sustain their employment levels because of this economy, because the money is not going to come in like it used to if we're not careful.
Sometimes I worry that minorities, I'll say just to say it lightly, are in deep trouble. Let me tell you why. I have a client that's an FBI agent. He said that the red states, like in the center of the country, Midwest, that's where 70% of the weapons are,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
you can't even find a black guy out there. And if
Bingo.
he is, he might be working for somebody or a truck driver passing through. Like, what is this shaping up to be?
Well, sometimes we don't know. And that's the problem. You look at America, you look at the amount of money we spend in the military and how we're so militarized and how we use military now, National Guard wise, to be able to go into places like Chicago, go into places like DC, go into places like Baltimore, thinking about going into LA. So you got a lot of stuff going on there, man. We're using the military for non-military things against other countries. You're starting to use our military against our own people.
Right. A lot of people are worried in regards to that, but also I have to be honest with you. Some of these cities, especially New York City, recently we had a guy, he was an illegal immigrant. He set a lady on fire right on I think it was the C train in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are doing things that are out of control. So on one hand, you say, hey, we do need a big change. But on the other hand, it might be something, a bigger play at hand. Do you think?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is, I think Trump is smart. I think he's diabolical when it comes to certain things. Does he want to get rid of crime? Yes, he does. Who wouldn't want to get rid of crime? Who wouldn't want crime to decrease? But my concern is he knows that, and he knows there's not going to be a lot of complaints about reducing crime. But what happens when you reduce the crime and you stay there and it becomes an occupation? And when it comes to a point where you don't like a governor, you don't like a city mayor, they say something about you, I'm going to send the National Guard in. I'm going to send my military in. And that is very authoritarian. There's a very dictatorship leaning behavior. And so those are the concerns that people should have. And then when it comes to civil rights, when you start bringing the military in, the military, they're not trained like civilian police officers. So they can violate your rights. And in a lot of situations, you won't have a lot of recourse. So those are the things that really concern me when it comes to using the National Guard to come into some of these cities to clean some stuff up. Of course, I want crime cleaned up, but that needs to be defined, and it doesn't need to become an occupation, and that's the thing that I get concerned with. Some may be happy that initially that is happening, but later on they may become upset because of what's happening with these people staying and becoming an occupation.
Some of the mayors are pushing back and governors. Do you think they'll have a leg to stand on?
I think that they will. I've heard that some of the courts are starting to rule against this because when you look at it, the courts have kind of been giving Trump a lot of wins. But I also think that they're going to start trying to rein him in because they know when you start to go after the people and you're going after Congress, then you're going to start going after the judiciary. If you don't start to control some of the actions that he's taken, and when it comes to people's constitutional rights and the ability for cities to have their elected officials that they have paid the jobs and elected these people the jobs to do their jobs without governmental interference, we got to start being careful and understanding that this is a power grab. And even if the judiciary doesn't do something about it, then it's going to be even worse for everybody. Congress, the judiciary, and everybody that's not in the executive branch. And I think that people are really starting to realize, hey, we got to rein them in at some point. We can't continue to allow this behavior.
You know, in war, they have what they call collateral damage. And also when COVID hit, at some point, it was, hey, some people are just going to pass away, move them to the side, get rid of them. That's the attitude. So now we're starting to see it at a financial level where they're cutting back on aid and many different levels, right? And people are falling off financially. And then they're targeting the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the real picture here is?
Man, it's going to be a huge problem. There are going to be a lot of people in despair. And a lot of these people are not going to take it laying down. When you start affecting the ability for people to survive, they're going to take drastic measures. And I'm not just saying, hey, I'm advocating for people to go out and start fighting the government and start doing this and start doing that. But there's some people that are not going to take kindly to being pushed down, being put in a position where they can't eat, they can't feed their families, they can't exist. You're going to get a pushback when you got people that do that.
You know, in the real world, especially like in a lot of the southern states in the Bible Belt, a lot of mothers would teach their sons or fathers teach their sons to turn the other cheek and Jesus and don't even own guns, don't shoot guns. But in some of these other states, that starts at 5 years old. Little Johnny is being trained how to shoot and how to hunt. I see that there's a big issue here as far as the playing of sides. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. Do you see a black man or Hispanic with a gun as a thug? You see a white guy openly carrying, hey, he's an American protecting, he's a red-blooded American just trying to protect his right, his Second Amendment right. And see, that's the thing that we have concerns. I've always thought about this open carry situation as a trap because it creates situations where you can define people by how you see them. And a lot of people see black men with guns or Hispanics with guns as dangerous. You see a white guy with a gun and he got one on his truck rack and, he's just pure-blooded American just having his right to bear arms. And so when you start looking at people like that, you start viewing that and you start teaching your children at 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old how to use guns, how to shoot guns. It's a different look. It's a different world. And I always said that they were going to use this at some point to play games with it. And that's kind of what they're doing right now.
Right. Do you think the difference, though, is that in power, we have individuals that are pretty much lining things up to go adversely toward minorities?
I think we are. And I think one thing I will give the Republican Party that they can map out a plan and they can stay on message and they don't get off message. They can get a plan, they can go, they'll execute it, and they will continue to stay on message. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. When the Democrats came in power after they got Trump out the first time, and Biden got in there, they tried to go after Trump, and they were sloppy about it. They took their time, and of course, nothing really stuck. Now, of course, he got convicted of those felonies in that one trial, but at the end of the day, the thing out in Georgia flopped, and some of the other things flopped, and so when you look at that situation, the Republicans are not like that. They know what they want to do. They've gotten in here. They've cut the Department of Education. They cut some of the student loan stuff. They've cut other branches of the government. So the government is less involved in some of the day-to-day needed essentials of Americans. And they've cut taxes. They have been on message. They've been on fire. They get in there and they do what they're supposed to do. Unlike the Democrats, we get in there and we forget and we kind of jack around. And then we start talking about what we're going to do for folks that are on the far left, as opposed to regular folks. And I think that people are tired of that.
Right. So let me ask you a question in regards to this whole deal with the homeless, especially like in the DC area. Do you think that that's it's a good plan, basically?
I'm concerned about it because you're going to have to do something with those homeless people. And there are a number of ways how people become homeless. Sometimes people are homeless by choice. Sometimes people are homeless because they have mental problems. Sometimes people are homeless because maybe they went to the military, came back with some mental issues, and it doesn't allow them to keep jobs. Maybe they suffer from some other afflictions or issues that cause them to be in a position to where they don't have a place to stay. Unless you have a system and a policy and a mechanism in place to be able to deal with all 3 or 4 of those, it's not going to be successful.
Right. So where do you think this is actually going to go as far as, let's say, Chicago, Baltimore? You think it's actually going to become a big deal with the National Guard, or you think it's just talk?
It is, man. I think they're going to do it, and I think it's going to be a huge problem. Problem in Chicago is going to be a problem in Baltimore. I was joking with DJ Genesis and was saying that they call Baltimore, Maryland, they have another name for it. It's called Bodymore, Murderland. So instead of Baltimore, Maryland. And so I've heard people refer to that as that. And then when it comes to Chicago, because of all of those guns and all of those issues up there and the availability of weapons, that's going to be something different. And we need to be very careful with Baltimore and even be more careful with Chicago, because there are going to be some people that are not going to take kindly to that governmental occupation.
Right. Now, I know we were talking about as far as the young people. I see a few comments as well. Do you think that in the Black community, minority community, that those things like fishing and hunting, all of those traits should be taught more?
I think they should. But at the same time, you have to teach traits that are going to be relatable to the kind of life that you're trying to live. If fishing and hunting will get that for you, fine. But if not, you need to be teaching them things of being able to survive, how to pay their bills, how to understand how to work some of these computer programs. We need to teach our young people skills and trades, as well as just a college track. We need to start not just sending everybody in a college track. Everybody's not meant to go to college, to be honest with you. Some people need to take a trade up. Some people need to go to some of these other type schools out there that can teach you the ways to do things to make a living. And we need to start identifying who those people are, and then figuring out what kind of track we can put them on to get them to where they need to be.
Okay, very good, very good. Could you take a moment and just tell everybody how you can be reached? We have a lot of new people in the chat.
I can be reached at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. That's my email, attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. I can be reached at 214-565-5600, 214-565-5600. And I can be reached on my website at theywon'tletmeout.com. Now, you want to start taking some of these comments. We're going to start taking some people from the comment section in a minute, but we can continue to talk and eventually go to some of the comments. If y'all have some comments, we're willing to try to address some of those. So if you're watching and you're liking, give us a like and subscribe, and then start hitting us with some of the comments, and we'll start talking about some of them.
Okay, Paul Jimenez says all the liberal cities and states have allowed this to happen, and misappropriation federal funds not helping homeless people.
In some of the states and some of the cities, that's true, and we have to be honest with it. Some of these states and cities have not put the best policies in place to be able to deal with the homeless when they've gotten that federal money. And so I do agree with that. There's been a lot of skimming of money in some of these cities.
Okay, welcome back, Nathan Dunlap. He says, let's see, you know what scares a white liberal is a rich Black community that doesn't depend on government handouts.
Well, there's a question. I was watching something today, and a guy was talking about how the unblacking of San Francisco. When I say the unblacking of San Francisco, black people in San Francisco basically are being priced out and run out of their neighborhoods because everything's so expensive. And they're tearing down a lot of the housing projects and saying that they're going to bring back affordable housing. And when they don't, they just build these high rises and these really expensive homes. And the population of San Francisco is less than 5% black now.
Okay. Tommy says, send the military to Chicago and save the people.
Well, you know, I think you could send them up there to try to clean some of the stuff up, but I think you got to be careful about that because there can be targeting of these cities just because they happen to not be MAGA, they happen to be blue cities, and we want to be careful about how people go in and use the military. Of course, if they're going to help with some of the crime problems, I'm not going to disparage the government for doing that, but I think we got to be careful when we go up there and start doing that.
Okay, Paul Jimenez says, regardless of the reason for homelessness, we are a community and our leaders need to step in and help these people, whether they like it or not, just like we deal with criminals.
They should. And I had a conversation today, Mel, with somebody, and I said, a lot of these leaders, especially at the state and federal level, need to come back and walk these communities. They need to walk on the street and actually see, hey, what's happening on the street? How many homeless people are out here? How does that look? And the reason why I say that, they'll send their assistants out, they'll do a study, but I want people to actually, if you're local, state, or federal, come walk communities that you've been voted in to serve, and look around those communities and see what's happening with the homeless population, and start figuring out ways to try to deal with it.
Okay. Patrick Hickson says Democrats have a 19% approval rate, and it's because of delusional opinions like this.
And what happens is I try to tell people, like, we're pretty balanced. There's no delusional opinions on here. I try to tell people what we have is we have to be honest about everything that's going on. With Trump, there's some great things that he's doing in terms of doing some of the things, eliminating some of the waste, making sure that people and criminals that are in this country, that are not supposed to be in this country, they're getting out here. I support that. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you got to be extremely careful when you start talking about certain things. Some people are so MAGA that no matter what he does, they see everything that he does as positive. And I just don't do that. I'm kind of right down the middle. When he does something great and does something good, like getting rid of some of the dangerous illegal aliens that are in our country, hey, I'm all for that. Love that. But if he's going too far, if he's giving tax cuts to these companies and they're laying people off, if he's going in and hurting governmental services that people are going to need, if he's cutting situations that people are really going to need certain services, I'm going to say that, and we got to be careful about that. It's when it comes to the Democrats and their 19% approval rating, I just think the Democrats have simply forgot how to deal with the middle America, which is the normal people that have families, that have daughters and sons, old people trying to pay their bills and make sure they get the Medicare and get their medical assistance, people that need their services, people that are trying to build a life in America. I think that the Democratic Party has put a lot of the illegal immigrants, a lot of the LGBTQ community concerns, and a lot of the other stuff and abortion and stuff like that, they've given that more juice. And when I say giving it more juice, like for myself, abortion is not going to be an issue for me. I mean, I'm a regular person, married before I had my kids, got a wife, got a daughter. We're not aborting any kids here, so that doesn't do anything for me. LGBTQ, I know some people that are that. I want them to be okay. I want them to be safe. But at the same time, I'm not going to put their interests ahead of my family, ahead of my parents being able to get their medicines, make sure that my parents are able to afford the housing that they currently have, making sure those are the types of things that I care about, even as a Democrat. And the Democratic Party is not focusing on those issues. Even when it comes to black people, a lot of black people complain because what they saw was, especially in Chicago, them spend $1 billion on illegal immigrants, where for the last 30, 40, 50 years, people in the African American community have been asking for the help to rebuild their own communities. And those people that are in Chicago that saw their mayor spend all that money on them, hey man, that's not the way. That's dumb. That's a recipe for disaster. And if Democratic Party does not focus on its most loyal voting bloc, which is African Americans, and make sure that they sustain and stabilize that group, they're going to continue to leak. Because remember, there was an argument between black men and black women because Trump got 20% of the black male vote. And they said that was even trending up even higher. And then even with black women, they used to 95%, they used to vote Democrat. Now it's about 90%. So they lost about 5%. And then black males lost 10% in terms of the Democratic Party. So there are a lot of people that are looking at the Democratic Party saying, hey, man, look, we're losing our communities. We're being redistricted out of our seats. So at the same time, y'all better do something about this. If you don't, we're going to go over there. A lot more of us are going to go over there and have a conversation about, hey, if we vote, hey, can we get this? Can we get that? And we have to be able to do that as a people and not get judged by people over to the far left because we're not putting their interests above ours.
Now, speaking of the LGBT community, right? You had mentioned there's a case down south where the lady did not want to perform the marriage because it was against her religion. And now I guess they're trying to get it back before the Supreme Court. Do you see a major change coming for the community?
It seems to me that the country is starting to go in a different direction of always ruling in favor of the LGBTQ community. Some it may be good, it may be bad. But I think that they're willing now. I think people are really starting to question how far left that you want to do and how much do we do to make a certain segment of the population comfortable all the time. And when I say that, you definitely want people to be treated fairly. Like I have LGBTQ friends. I love them. I love them for how they are. I don't have a problem with them. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that are saying, I'm not willing to sacrifice my needs, my wants, my positions, and my future just so that you're going to be okay. And just to do too much in that direction to where we start to lose things on our end. And there's been a huge conversation, not in the Democratic Party, but in amongst the black people that are saying, hey, we've tied ourselves to some things on the far left that all of us don't support, and we're being punished for that now. And so it's become a reality, and we need to revisit how far left we're willing to go. We need to revisit how far we're willing to go on trans and LGBTQ stuff, how far we're willing to go on abortion. So we got to really start paying attention of how we're voting. And then if we're going to vote 90 and 80% for the Democratic Party, we got to be able to have some say so on that platform. They can't tell us what they want us to do. We should be telling them what we want. And we're going to start doing that.
Right. Do you think a problem is that they went too far to the left side, especially when you had men playing in women's sports and the pronouns and all of that? Do you think that that's the reason why we got here?
I think exactly that's why the reason we got here. And I tell people all the time, I'm not anti-trans, I'm not anti-LGBTQ. But when you start pushing and pressing certain things on the majority of the rest of the country. So let's say that the LGBTQ community makes up maybe 10 to 15% of the population. Let's say it's 10%. It's like you're putting pressure on the other 90%. And you're displacing some of the other 90% just to make sure that 10% is okay. And when you start talking about voting and you start talking about elections, that's when you really start to wake up, because what happens is you're in a situation where you're doing all this stuff, make sure that 10% is okay, but you still got to have people vote for you. And so that other 40 to 45% that you had that was going to help you win, they're going to feel like you're not prioritizing us. You're not trying to help us. And if you're going to help us, we're going to either stay home, which a lot of people did, or we're just going to vote Republican. And a lot of people decided to just stay home. And I think that's going to hurt. And the Democrats, what they got to understand is they can no longer scare or shame people into voting. When I say scare, if Trump is in there, this is going to happen to you. That's not going to work anymore. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Your ancestors are, rolling over their graves because you're not voting the Democratic Party this time. That's not resonating with a lot of these young people. A lot of these young people did not come from that same ilk. They did not come from that same eyes on the prize, black history that we came from. They're like, look, tell me what I'm going to get. Tell me how I'm going to be treated fairly. Tell me what kind of future I'm going to have. If you're just focusing everything on the left, you're not focusing on me at all. I'm not going to vote. I'm already, young people really don't want to vote anyway, for the most part. And the ones that do, if you don't engage them, if you don't get them something that they can be inspired to do, then they're not going to vote.
All right. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's have a hard talk. It's probably a talk that a lot of people are not going to like, but let's just go there. In the past, we had people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, right? And if I were to ask you now, who's sitting in that seat, I think you would have a hard time to choose some solid names.
No one.
And the guys that this generation would choose as the leaders, the mouthpiece, a lot of those guys are advocating the violation of women. Their speak is just deplorable. They're all over the place. So what's the way forward, and why do you think that's the case? Did everybody get bought out?
I think a lot of people got bought out. And number two, in our community, we don't celebrate educational achievements and leadership preparedness. And when I say educational leadership and leadership preparedness, like myself, for example, I went to the High School for Public Services, Government and Law. I went to law school. I opened my first business in the South Southern Dallas community. I've never tried drugs, never had drugs in my life, never done anything like that in my life. I've always resisted, even though it was all the way around me. So I'm kind of an example of what you should want to elect. I went to school to be able to do this. I have a history and political science degree. However, when I ran for the Dallas City Council here in Dallas, a chef beat me, a high school person that taught cooking at a high school. It was because a lot of people in our community, African American in our community, were actually scared to support me because the powers that be that kind of paid them were not going to let them do it. And that's the truth. And you know, it's crazy. I'm crazy, right? But that's literally what happened. I mean, the ones that I looked up to, I had helped get elected, I looked up to and done work with, you go to them for the endorsement, they can't do it because somebody who's been giving them money for the last 10, 15 years is telling them, you got to stay out of this one. You got to stay out of this one. And they pick the person, and kind of what happens. And it's too much money in politics, and it's too much click. There's too much clicks in politics, and some of these sororities, some of these other organizations, some of these political organizations are just serving themselves instead of serving the people in the community. And I think that's part of the problem.
Okay. So you had a video that you wanted to show. I guess we could go to the video now.
Yeah, before we go into that, I have another video I wanted to ask Calvin a question of before we go to that video.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
And guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the material.
Sorry about that. Just waiting for it to load. Okay, hold on.
They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals.
And I want to speak directly to our children as well. And please hear me loud and clear. Do not listen to what Donald Trump called you yesterday. When the president from the Oval Office calls you natural-born killers, children who are born to be violent, I say this: I respect the office, but I will never honor ignorance. To our children, you are loved and you're needed. To our children, we believe in you and we invest in you. To our children, we love you and we are going to honor every God-honored potential that you have. To our children.
So, like I said, Trump, in the recent address, he talked about children and saying that they are going to. I guess I'm not sure if he's talking about the little black boys, that they are born criminals and that they are in 10 years they're going to be the criminal element. So, what do you think about that statement?
And see, that's what we got to be careful of. He speaks in a lot of coded language, and I think part of that is the problem. Number one, part of that we've allowed that. We've allowed people to feminize our black men. And when I say feminize our black men, black men that are strong like myself, black men that will speak out, black men that will stand up straight, even to our own women, they're not being pushed. They're being pushed to the back. They're being, oh, you're misogynistic just because I come out strong and I will say what I need to say and do what I need to do. And people have to understand the reason why I am this way, because if I go in here and I have to fight against people like Donald Trump, if I have to fight against people like Abbott, our Governor Hot Wheels, if I have to go out here and fight against the vice president and people like DeSantis down in Florida, I need to be strong. I need to come out strong, and I need to be direct. And what's happening is we're creating situations, number one, where we're allowing for Mr. Trump to demonize young black men, number one. Number two, the Democratic Party is pushing, to me, the feminization of black men, which means not having strong African-American men in positions of power. And when people see that, they'll say you're misogynistic. But it's not misogynistic when I got to go to war with DeSantis, and I got to go to war with Trump, and I got to go to war with J.D. Vance, and I got to go to war with some of these people in MAGA. You need strong, stand-up, straight-back men to go after some of these folks. It's a great job that our women do, our African-American women do. I love it. Thank you for you doing what you're doing. But y'all need some men to come and back y'all up. That's just the damn truth. So a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I'm tired of just talking out of a can. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. That's my idea on that. So let's go to the other video.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to at least, get some things. Some people were saying it's a soundbite. I didn't want to play the whole thing, but it's the most recent. I could put it in the I'll put it on my wall. Yeah. It was something I just kind of threw in there. I wanted to hear what you thought about that.
Hey, Calvin, before we go to that video, JDP says another thing is young people are led by social media, and it seems like Democrats did not want to go that route. Trump went to a few platforms.
He went to a lot of great platforms, and Trump was really good at using social media. I think that's smart. And I try to tell people, as much as sometimes I may not like what Trump does and how he does it, I can give him a lot of kudos for being smart enough to do a lot of the things that the Democrats are not doing. He understands that he has to capture the hearts and minds of middle America. He understands that he has to prioritize the wants and needs of regular working class people, or at least seem like he does if you don't agree with the fact that he does. But I will tell you, he leads with that. He leads with job talk. He leads with money talk. He leads with economy talk. That's what people are doing. And if the Democratic Party is not smart enough to do that after getting their butts smashed and wiped all across the floor last time, then that's on them. They're going to eventually get it. They just need to get it quicker, because things are really going to a point where that party, like I said, nobody likes them. People don't want to vote. People don't want to vote for them. People don't want to identify as Democrats. They better fix that and start fixing that fast. And they need to quit doing these damn studies and come talk to some real people.
Okay, very good. All right, Genesis, you could bring up the next video.
Latoya Lawrence. She was found dead in a car with a gunshot wound in 2021.
The district attorney dropped the charges against the suspects, and now the state is stepping in.
Mother and grandmother Latoya Lawrence was shot to death in 2021 in the tiny North Carolina town of Scotland Neck. Hours later, her married boyfriend and his wife were charged with murdering Latoya, according to court records. Latoya's family say years went by with no word about the court case. Cousin Kim Williams said she began emailing District Attorney Kim Scott, asking what was taking so long.
I started emailing. I went to asking my aunt questions of what was going on, and none of it sounded right. None of it. So I started emailing, and I started emailing in DA Kim Scott, the DA for Halifax County. She responded. At that time, she responded, and I went to telling her that I'm speaking up on behalf of my family member, Latoya Lawrence, who was murdered. So I got her to meet with my family. I live in Florida. So I got her to meet with my family, and I was on the phone when they met in this meeting. And that's when she went to telling us, that, evidence was misplaced. These people confessed. The confessions were misplaced.
Not only was the alleged video confession missing, so were some body cam videos from investigators, according to one of those officers. In May of this year, the district attorney dropped all charges against the suspects, citing potential evidence that had gone missing.
Latoya Lawrence is my first cousin. We had a bond. We talked, we laughed, we cried together. We were close. Latoya was funny. Latoya would give anyone the shirt off of her back. Very loving. She has 2 children. Before this happened, she had a granddaughter. She now has a grandson as well now, but she was loving. Anybody in the community had nothing bad to say about her because that's the way my auntie raised her. She did anything for anybody, so this is why this hurts so bad.
Prosecutor Scott also cited evidence obtained in violation of a defendant's constitutional rights, according to her dismissal filing. The cases were dropped without leave, meaning the Clarks can never be tried on those charges. She also issued a Giglio letter against 2 cops involved in the investigation, meaning they can never again testify in any criminal case in her jurisdiction, according to local reports. Those men, Police Chief Tommy Parker and Captain Marvin Hilliard, resigned that same month, according to the town mayor.
From me emailing, this lady has met with my family 3 times. And every meeting was just the wrong that Scotland Neck, North Carolina police did. And I had a problem with that because we have laws to correct things, and that's the only thing that she ever told us is the wrong that the police did. Nothing else. Nothing of what law she can use to put these people away. My family is not giving up or giving in. We want justice, and wrong was done. And we want people to be held accountable for what they have done.
Latoya Lawrence, 43, was shot in the head inside her car about 3 a.m. on August 7th, 2021. Latoya's mother said Scotland Neck police came to her home after identifying her daughter's body. The mother asked Inside Edition Digital not to show her face during the interview.
When they came in, the first thing they said was, do y'all have any idea as to who would do this? We all said Antonio Clark. That was when he said, we are not going to bed tonight until we get him. And I said, okay, you better get him before I get him. And they left.
The cop who made that promise was Marvin Hilliard, then a Scotland Neck police sergeant. He was one of the officers involved in the apprehension of Antonio and Akeisha Clark, according to authorities.
I responded to where EMT was at. They pronounced her deceased. I noticed that she had a gunshot wound on her head. I took photos, and I met with the mother, Joyce Lawrence. When I met with Joyce Lawrence, she was already saying no. That's one of the hardest moments of my career, going to residents and telling anyone about a passing of their loved one, especially during this tragedy. I advised Ms. Lawrence that her daughter has passed away. The home got very emotional. I got emotional with them. I took it personal. Miss Joyce stated that her daughter was having an affair with a married man. And when the married man was Antonio Clark, she said that they were having some issues lately and that he done it. And I said, how you know that he did it? And she stated that he was threatening her.
Hilliard said surveillance camera video and neighborhood doorbell footage appeared to show Antonio Clark's Cadillac stopped at the crime scene and then driving away. The actual shooting was not captured on those videos, he said. Later that day, Hilliard obtained a search warrant for the Clark's home in nearby Nash County.
We have to pause.
While he was...
Okay, so you have to give some commentary.
But basically what's happening in this case, let's get to the nutshell because we don't want to play too much. That video takes up too much of our time. Basically what happened was the video that was copied onto these hard drives only stays there for 30 days. The officers allegedly did not get it, did not get it. And without them being able to go to those body cams and get that stuff requested in those 30 days, they were unable to get that footage of the interrogation that they did of the two people that were accused of being involved in the killing. And without that interrogation, it really harmed their case because they were going to be able to use those interrogation videos in court. But without the interrogation videos, they couldn't use them. And so the DA decided to dismiss the case. I think that they could have dismissed it with prejudice as opposed without prejudice, which means what they did is they dismissed it to where they could never come back and refile them. What the DA should have done is she should have dismissed them with the ability to refile at a later date or time if they were able to go back and get that evidence. And what's happening is the DA was trying to blame the police department for losing that evidence or not requesting it because after 30 days that evidence is gone. And then that's what the issue is really about. Those those police officers did not save that evidence, and they did not get it to where they could get that recording over to the DA's office because the way that it works now, the officers are responsible for providing all the evidence, all of the interrogations, all of the body cams, all of everything that they have over to the DA's office. And they felt like the officers didn't do that in a timely manner. But the DA, number one, should have requested it sooner. They should have stayed on top of that. And even with that being said, even if they couldn't get it at the time, what should have been done is they should have dismissed it with the ability to be able to come back and refile it, and they did not do that. And what's happening in this situation is you got on one end the police, and on the other end, you got the DA's office trying to blame the police, and you got police blaming the DA's office, but nobody's getting prosecuted. And because the way they dismissed it, they can't come back and charge those people with murder. And so it's a mess.
Okay, so just for clarification, can you explain dismissing with prejudice and without prejudice?
With prejudice, which means it can be refiled, which means they dismissing it for a reason, but it could come back. Without prejudice means that they cannot refile that case for no reason whatsoever. That means they cannot bring that case back to life. And I think the DA dismissed the case without prejudice, which means that it was basically a flat-out dismissal, and they couldn't recall it and refile it. But if they'd have done it with prejudice, which means we'll dismiss it for now, but if something else comes out, we will come back and we will be able to proceed with this case. And I think what happened later on is they were able to come back and get the body cams. Somehow they were able to go pull that information from somewhere and be able to get those interrogations back in or back up on and to where they had access to them. But because they did it without prejudice, they can't charge. As part of it is the police department's fault, but to me, it's more the district attorney's fault in that situation because she had a mechanism to be able to dismiss it with prejudice, which would have allowed her to be able to come back and file it later if new evidence came back to life.
All right. Very happy to be me says all police departments are incompetent.
I tell people that you got some that are, but not all of them are. There's some good people that lead some of these police departments that stay on top of their business. And but there are a lot of them where some of the education level and some of the people that are elected to be able to run those departments can't run those departments properly. And so you do have some incompetency in some of the police departments across the country, but you also got some good ones.
Okay. Mashona says, don't forget to hit the like button and support the channel. Yes, indeed. So thank you to everybody for giving the support. Did you want to go back to some of the video or you're done with it?
Man, we can, because really what it comes down to, the gist of that video is this. A lot of our people, especially our municipalities that are ran by African Americans, a lot of people are questioning the ability of some of the DA's offices to be able to take out and carry out their duties to pursue people, to pursue criminals, to actually go to court and get convictions. And when you have situations like this, there is a level of probably, I would say, incompetency to dismiss this thing without prejudice, knowing that somebody lost their life and knowing that after talking to those officers, there was an interrogation. These people actually admitted that they were in certain places doing certain things, doing an interrogation, which was going to help them prove their case. And so to me, this DA's office should have dismissed it with prejudice so that they have the ability to be able to bring it back. And so those are some of the things that happen in today's era. You have a lot of recordings, you have a lot of videos, and you have a lot of stuff that's going on. And then you also, because of all these recordings, it's changed the way that a lot of these cases proceed. There's a lot of video and there's a lot of audio evidence and there's a lot of cell phone evidence that's needed in some of these cases. And we have to be smarter as a community to be able to preserve them. Somebody said, can the family sue the department and the DA? They possibly could. They possibly could sue the police department. But a lot of police departments have immunity. The district attorney's office, they could sue the county, but a lot of those people have immunity as well, depending on what's happening in that particular state. They can try to sue them and pierce that immunity, but they would really have a bigger hurdle to jump to be able to sue those municipalities and the police department.
Okay, very good. So here's another question I have for you, moving on to a different subject. In the minority community, Black community, we often get guys who collect a lot of money for different causes. There's several right now that we hear about, and they end up spending the money, commingling the money. The project never gets done. Is there a way for group economics in the Black community?
There is, man, but you got to get people that take care of their business right and take care of their paperwork right. Dr. Moore Johnson has been collecting money for years. People have been complaining about, hey, when's this school going to start? I mean, it was like 12, 13 years and still no school built. And then, honestly, I kind of knew, man, I'm not giving this guy any of my money because he was kind of shaky and shifty. And I think that us as a community, we got to be extremely careful, and especially when we're following very charismatic folks. We need to start seeing some of the paperwork. We need to see tangible documents showing where the money is going. And if we're going to have group economics, we have to establish some procedures and protocols and some trust. And how you do that is by setting up situations upon which you can actually see the documentation being filed and seeing the money being used and actually seeing statements of how that money is being taken care of. If we can't have group economics, if we don't start to do that, and I think people like Umar Johnson, as well as that guy Jay that was doing the Tulsa Black Wall Street Fund, and they took all those folks' money, I think they do our community a disservice because a lot of Black people will not come together to start using the group economics that are more prevalent in the white community and the Jewish community.
Right. It doesn't seem the money is the issue because these guys are raising millions of dollars. It's just that the projects never actually come to be. You know, it's like it's insanity, right?
Yeah, because people start taking advantage of folks. They start taking folks' money and they start doing that kind of stuff. And you can't do that. You got to have some checks and balances. Just like you're running a company, if you open a business and you're selling chicken and you realize, man, I sold a lot of chicken today. And you did your computations and your computation said, I was supposed to make $5,000 a day. And you look and you only got $3,500 and you know something went wrong. And the reason why you know something went wrong is because you're going to be able to go to your receipts. You're going to be able to look at what sold, how much sold, how it sold, when it sold. And that's what we should be able to do when you're doing these kind of larger projects with people's money. We should be doing the same thing. We can't be goofy out here doing dumb stuff, giving random people our money and then letting them go.
In most of the cities that I travel to, you'll see that the Chinese pretty much, or to that effect, have cornered the hair, the beauty industry. But whenever perhaps a Black lady tries to start that same business, they don't get that support. Do you think there's some type of psychological issue at play?
I think there is a psychological issue, but I also think that the Chinese and the Asians, they also have the power now to be able to close you out of those markets. They don't like to deal with us a lot when it comes to business. They like to keep it within Chinese people. To be honest with you, I think they really have been told not really to do a lot of business with us or to limit the amount of business they do with us. They want to take our money, but they don't want to help us make money. And that's just the truth. I was actually helping a company here in Dallas, and it's funny that it's about 10, 12 years ago, they were doing this big thing out in City Hill. They were selling hair. And what happened was I was helping them set it up. I helped set their LLC up. I was helping with legal stuff, doing work. And eventually I was supposed to get paid some money for doing it, right? So they didn't tell me that they had started making money. They were like, oh, we're not making any money. No profits are coming in, this and that. The only time they told me they were making money when they had a problem with the machine, the credit card machine. There was a guy that scammed them and took some money and something like that. Then they wanted to call me and help them get their money back. And I told them, I said, nah, I said, I can help you, but I got to charge you. And I need this amount of money to be able to go after this money. And they were like, no, we don't have any money, this and that. I'm like, no, you're lying to me because you started to make money, but you don't want to tell me I'm supposed to be something like your partner. And so I had to understand that sometimes in those groups, they don't want to do business like with us. And they do a lot of stuff to keep us out of those markets with them.
Right. What about at a higher level? Sometimes you see, like in the case of Jay-Z, he was in the music industry. He went and started a company, I believe, called Tidal, or maybe he was a big investor in it. How come we don't see people at that level teaching other minorities the game and helping them set up at a higher level?
I'm gonna tell you what happened with Tidal. Tidal, because I actually use Tidal in my other business. I use Tidal and Cubuzz. Those are streaming services. And what they are higher resolution streaming services. They're different from Apple in a sense because they actually have a lot of high resolution content. High resolution content, usually CD content is 16 times 44-bit or 320 megabits. But what's happening in the higher end or high resolution market, you can have 24/192, 24/386, 24/96, and it's higher resolution, higher quality files that are being streamed. And what Jay-Z realized with Tidal is that it was like third or fourth place after Spotify and some of these other music services. And he had the ability to buy it, and he bought it because the way he realized is the music was changing, streaming was coming up. And he actually learned from sitting with Warren Buffett and some of those people. And what those people taught him, because I watched an interview of kind of what he did, they taught him, don't always bet on the person that's in first place. Like a lot of people will, I'm just going to go to Apple. Apple got iTunes. I should buy their company. That company's going to make money. Nah, go for the second or third place one that has the ability to grow because you're going to make more money if it grows, right? And that's what somebody taught him. But he went in the rooms with the Warren Buffetts of the world, but he shut his mouth and he listened. A lot of times, and I'll say this about us, we want to go into rooms and show people that we belong instead of just going in there, sitting down, listening and being quiet and paying attention. And that's kind of what Jay-Z was able to do. He bought Tidal because, number one, it gave him a network upon which he could go directly to people's ears. He could stream audio, and Tidal has the ability to stream video directly to people's ears. He basically officially bought a music network without buying a television network. And that was a smart move for him. And then later on, what he did was when everybody started going to streaming and his thing grew, he sold Tidal and made a lot of money. He actually quadrupled or quintupled his money by doing that. And that was a smart move for him. But a lot of the times we don't want to have that conversation and bring other brothers in to do it. Number one. And number two, a lot of us don't want to sit down and listen and be quiet and then actually be measured in our approach to business and understand what direction that thing is going into. A lot of us are even actually afraid to invest with each other. And that's a problem because when you see people like Umar Johnson, you see people like Jay, whatever that guy was that did Black Wall Street, that took everybody's money. That's a problem. And a lot of people won't invest with each other. And so it's hard for people like Jay-Z to bring other people in. Remember, he was with Damon Dash and they had Rockefeller, but it got to a point where Damon and him were bumping heads and he decided, hey, I can't have somebody that's not on the same mind frame that I am going into business with these people. So I'm going to get rid of him and get rid of that. And I'm going to do it my way. And honestly, that's just kind of how it is with a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to work together to do stuff like that. Or you can't find suitable people that you feel like you can do business with that are willing to do things the way and have the same vision you have as a businessman.
You think that's people at large, or you think it's just minorities?
Some is people at large, but some as minorities. A lot of people, we want to go in here and control and run everything. And then a lot with us. We have African Americans. People talk about this, the crabs in a barrel mentality. A lot of us don't want to see each other come up. And I'm not like that. I want to see people win. You don't have to lose for me to win. And I don't have to win for you to lose. And my whole deal is we both can win. And if we're both winning, great. Even if you win and I don't win, I'm not mad at you. I'm happy that you won. And what's happening in our community, we're unable to help each other win. And then when we do win, we start looking at everybody's pocket. Well, he won, but he got 50 million and I only got 5. But it's $5 million you didn't have. Instead of looking at like it's $5 million and a half, you start looking at what he got as opposed to what you got. And then there we go. Crabs in the barrel mentality is a problem.
Speaking of music, within the last week, I think Master P came out and said you can't make money in the music industry. Now, when it came to Spotify stock, I got in really early. I bought a lot of it. It went up tremendously. But in that actual industry, a lot of the artists are making peanuts. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, with the streaming, man, it's cheating the artists. It's really cheating the artists now. The days of getting the big checks. I know a guy, Kipper Jones. Kipper Jones is a songwriter in Atlanta, a really good friend of mine. He wrote Broken Hearted for Brandy and Boyz II Men. He wrote all of Vanessa Williams' hits. He wrote a lot of Kenny Lattimore, Shanty Moore's hits. He had some major hits. He used to live off of the money that we get in royalty checks. Not anymore because of the streaming. That money has completely went down. There was a story I always tell people of Lenny Williams, who sung the song "Cause I Love You," right? The one that goes, "Cause you've heard it before." Yeah, everybody, it's a black beat, but come on, everybody gonna be like waving and everybody gonna go into a mode because of Lenny Williams, right? The Lenny Williams story is this. He was broke, basically. He got out of music, was living with his daughter in college. He was counseling former drug offenders and about to go broke, about to lose his house, couldn't afford to go to college, couldn't afford his daughter's college bills. They're going to kick her out of college. He's going to lose his house. Bills are stacked up at the door. He goes to the mailbox one day, opens the mail, opens the check, $490,000. He starts looking around like somebody's going to come after him, and this got to be a mistake. So he's like, God, $490,000. He says, no, you can cash the check. The mailman runs the second day, goes to the mailbox again. $490,000. $980,000 in 2 days. And he goes, what the hell? What he did not realize, the number one song in the world was Twister and Kanye West. They sampled his song. Kanye sped the sample up, used the music, and used his voice. So he got a voice credit and he got a writing credit. So he made $1 million in 2 days. Days of that happening are no longer existent. Back in those days when albums were selling for $10 and $15 a piece, those are the kind of royalties that you would make. I mean, if it was the number one song in the world, you get $1 million. Now music is not profitable. What a lot of these record labels are doing, they're doing these 360 deals where they take your publishing, they give you a little bit of money up front, they want some of your tour revenue, they want some of your merch, they want a lot of your streaming revenue, and the streaming is not paying that much. There's not a lot of money in music anymore. And the reason why I think that they changed that, because they saw people like Master P make a lot of money. They saw Cash Money make a lot of money. They saw Jay Prince make a lot of money. They saw Irv Gotti and Puffy and some of these other people make a lot of money. And they were not going to allow that to happen again. And I think there's not a lot of music anymore like there used to be. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's the money in hip hop that it used to be. And I think people are moving away from hip hop because of all the murder music, of all the drill rap. You know, people are trying to move away from that. If you look at the Clips album that came out and how popular the Clips are, I love the Clips. Those are my guys. I love No Malice. No Malice is my guy. Well, Malice and No Malice, however you want to call them. But they went back to real rap and it's not talking about killing people. And we have to take our art form back. because we've given it up to corporate America, and then we have allowed them to capitalize and set the tone of what hip hop will be played on radio. And I think there's not a lot of money in music anymore because people don't want to listen to that anymore. And I think that I think they're gonna have to do something with the streaming because they're not paying these artists enough, man. It's a joke.
Right. Genesis.
I have a question. So now with the advent of AI, you see a lot more. You have Timberland working with Suno, making AI records, and then a lot of artists are beginning to want to sue these companies because they're saying that they are infringing on their intellectual rights, like they're kind of using their voices and stuff like that. And like even some of the production kind of sounds similar to production that's out there, there because AI doesn't really think, it copies, it canvases the internet. So what do you think is going to happen with AI?
Man, they got to be careful with that kind of stuff because they'll do a lot of stuff that be using people's voices. But you got some of those contracts that allow these companies to be able to use their voices when they buy these catalogs. They can go in and they're able to use people's likes and voices and AI. And it's very, very unfortunate that they're trying to. So not only are they taking all of your streaming money, they want to pay themselves by using robots. They don't want you to get none of the money, and they want you to listen to and pay for artificial intelligent music. If you look at, has anyone seen Denzel and Spike Lee's new movie Highest to Lowest?
No.
Mel, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Have you seen it, DJ Genesis?
It just came out, or is it old?
No, I went to the movie theater to see it. It came out first. Apple Music actually funded it. They gave the whole budget for it. But it literally talks about, to help y'all understand and why y'all should go see it, it talks about how music used to be. And Denzel actually, without telling the movie, he used to be a record executive and he had some of the hottest hip hop artists out. And he started making so much money that he went away from actual talent. And they started going towards what was hot and what was trending, even though it was not talented artists, even though it wasn't talented music. And it talks about highest to lowest. And what you understand is basically saying hip hop went to the highest, now it's down to the lowest, or music was in its highest and it went down to its lowest. And the movie really is about investing in real music again. And I think that I keep pointing back to the clips. I point back to the clips because they came from an era of rap that was different. Yeah, I talked about, drugs and some of the other things, but it talked about life too as well. But I think because they're really rappers they're really, really rap, that's different. Kendrick Lamar's album, people liked it just like, this is catchy, but Kendrick actually raps. He actually has bars. So I think that hip hop is going to try to take itself back over. And I think they're going to start really, really pushing artists who can actually are really lyrical and that the music actually is saying something, because people are tired of vibing out to kill, murder, murder, murder. We're sick of that. I'm not into that hip hop anymore. I don't want to hear any more of that anymore.
This year, and this is my last question about this. This year, we have 3 of the highest grossing concert tours that were African American, grossing in numbers up to like $700 million.
What three were those?
The Weeknd, Beyonce, and SZA and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah,
and
man.
Now Chris Brown is he's about to be in the running too.
Yeah, so he's killing it. Chris Brown, shout out to Chris Brown. Actually, believe it or not, I met Chris Brown back in the early 2000s at the Texas Summer Music Conference. And this is before he was big. But when he hit the stage, I knew he was different. Because I was like, at first I was like, who's this little Usher wannabe? But then when he hit the stage, his production, his dancing, and everything that he was doing told me that this guy was going to be a star. Texas Summer Music Conference used to be a conference in Texas that showed new opening acts. Like, I got to meet Paul Wall and Millionaire before they got big. A lot of the Houston scene, a lot of the Houston rappers, I got to hear them and meet them before they became big. And so I was looking at that kind of stuff and going back to that kind of stuff because when you look at people like Chris Brown, you look at the Beyonce tour, you look at SZA and Kendrick, and they were I saw when Kendrick and them were overseas, man, there were hundreds of thousands of people, man, word for word bouncing to his music. And that's where music is kind of going back to. And so I'm proud that a lot of these high grossing tours are happening. And I'm glad they're getting back to actually giving us shows.
The question is that do they own these shows, or are they also in 360 deals to where the label is owning their money and like they're just only getting a portion of those millions?
I think with Kendrick, I think he's what TDE and Punch, but he just left them to go to Aftermath, and so Kendrick has a huge machine behind him now. Kendrick is actually an Aftermath artist right now, and so I think he got a great deal. And I think he got a great push. He probably gave up some of his tour money. He probably gave up some of his back end money because he knew he had this machine behind him. And sometimes, if you have a huge machine behind you, a 360 deal is not a bad situation, depending on what the percentages are. But I think that if you're a newer artist, you need to shy away from that. You need to keep a bigger percentage of your show money because they're going to take all your streaming money. And so you want to be able to sustain yourself. You want to be able to make certain amounts of money, but a lot of people like having the machine behind them. When I say the machine, a lot of these record labels have the ability to play everything on these radio stations, streaming platforms, and so on and so forth. So that's what it is.
We don't normally read a lot of articles in regards to Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses going bankrupt and barely can eat a meal these days, but we see it a lot when it comes to Black artists from like around 1995. And even we see now that, what's his name? Dame Dash is filing 25 million bankruptcy. A lot of those stars are barely surviving. They're living in probably low budget houses and so forth. Why do you think that's the case?
Man, there's a long history of that. People point to Clive Davis and some people think that man's evil. I was listening to him and Barry White. You know, him and Barry White had a huge blow up back in the day because Barry wanted to control his own career, control his money, and control his label. And Barry did not die, bro. Barry had money when he went to glory. And a lot of it is controlling your own destiny. A lot of these record labels in the past really took a lot of the artist's money. You got in these deals and you don't make a lot of money. I heard Charlie Wilson talk about it. I remember a lot of people at the end of when Mays, before Frankie Beverly died, a lot of people were complaining because Frankie, he had throat cancer before. He couldn't really sing like he used to. And he would really struggle singing the words to his songs. But people didn't understand that he didn't have any insurance, so he had to perform. This is the way he made his money. A lot of the artists back then got tricked out of their royalties. I was listening to the DOC, who I actually have met on several occasions. I've talked to the doc, and the doc, he put out one album which was platinum, and with NWA, but he put out his own album. No one does it better. Then he had a car accident, and before then he had wrote a lot of songs for NWA. A lot of songs for a lot of the other rappers, a lot of artists on Ruthless Records. And he didn't understand what publishing was and all this other stuff. And he saw all of these guys getting these NWA chains and these rope chains. And he said, when am I gonna get my chain, man? That's easy. When am I gonna get my chain? When am I gonna get my chain? And he said, man, what do you want for it? I want some drip. I want some necklaces. So Easy went and bought him about 2 or 3 necklaces and a couple of NWA emblems. Came out to about $4,000 worth of jewelry. He signed over his publishing for about $4,000 worth of jewelry. When he had the car accident and took his voice box out, and he started to find out, like, where's my money? I'm not getting any money. And it was like, man, you gave your publishing Easy back in the day. Well, how much was that worth? He had missed out on between $3 and $9 million because he did that. And people don't understand how prolific as a writer he was. He wrote a lot of Dr. Dre stuff. He wrote a lot of Snoop Dogg stuff. He wrote a lot of NWA stuff. And he talked about, hey, man, that guy cheated me out of my publishing. And those are the kind of stories that happened. People just didn't understand the music industry. And see, what's happening now is people are more educated about the music industry. So what do? Instead of paying people like they're supposed to, they go to streaming, pay you very little in streaming, so they still get to screw you. See, they could not screw people the way they used to screw them. And so they start screwing them a whole nother way. Chamillionaire. You know how much money Chamillionaire is worth right now? About $30 to $40 million. The rapper Chamillionaire. You know why he has worth that kind of money? They wanted to keep him in a record contract, and he threatened to show everybody else on the label how to do an audit, which was to count their own money and see how much money they were being cheated out of. He said, if you don't let me off the label, I'm gonna teach everybody how to do an audit. What do you think they did the next day? They let him off the label. Gave him his master and let him off this label. And he took the money and invested in like Uber and some of the other stuff and made a lot of money on his own. He doesn't do music anymore. But I'm telling you, those are the type of things that happen in a lot of these record labels, especially when you come to African-American artists.
Right. You know, I grew up in the South, and I thought when I grew up back in those days that it was the white guys that had all the money and ran the show. But then when I moved to New York, I realized it was the Jews that pretty much financed everything, even all these record labels.
Yeah.
They're ran by Jewish guys, right? But check this out. Not only that, they get you to buy the diamond necklace, diamond rings. Guess who runs the diamond market and the jewelry market? It's the Jews. So they're running the record industry. Then they promote, oh, you got to have a diamond chain. Their cousin is selling the diamonds. They keep all the money in the family.
And see, that's what it comes down to. I was talking to somebody the other day, and what they do is they find a few African Americans to kind of be figureheads. They pay them a lot of money, and they make sure that they go get the rest of your money. So when you go perform and you do well and you sell a million copies, they'll get somebody like Puffy, and let's say $10 million gets made. They'll give Puffy a couple of million. They'll give you $250,000, and they'll keep the rest. And that's what was happening. I mean, there's a story of a guy named Clarence Avant. It's called the Godfather. They call him the Godfather of Soul. There's a Netflix thing. And Clarence Avant was an OG of OGs, but he worked for a lot of German owners and Jewish owners of record labels back in the day. And literally, he was so big, they said, truth be told, that he actually was protecting Puffy at the end. And because he passed away, that's when everything started happening with Puffy. He had a lot of connections to Clive Davis, a lot of connections to the music industry. There was even a story of when Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis got fired from Prince, the time, he was the one who gave them a studio. He was the one who basically brought out the SOS band, Sherelle, Alexander O'Neal. He was the one who bankrolled their foray into Janet Jackson. He was the one who gave them their record label Flight Time to be able to produce all of these hits. And when you think about Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, they're top 3 all time for producing hits in the African-American music community. But Clarence Avant kind of was their godfather. And of course, he worked for Jewish and German label owners.
Right. Can you tell the people why publishing is like the gold mine?
Publishing is a gold mine because you get paid every time that record is played. It can be used in commercials. It can be used in jingles. It can be used on TV shows. Anytime your music is used, anytime somebody buys sheet music, anytime somebody plays it, you get paid from it. And if you're in a movie, let's say your song is in a movie, you're publishing, that's a lot of money, man. You're in a movie that just say does 100 million worldwide. There was a story of Jason Weaver, and you might not know who Jason Weaver. He ended up being the voice in The Lion King, right? Is it the little black kid in the movie? He was a voice of The Lion King, right?
Yeah, I just can't wait to be king. He was the first person to sing that. Yep.
They offered him $500,000 one-time fee, and he was done. His mother said, "Nah. Give us 50,000 and give us 1.5 or 2 points." And because of that, he never has to work again. Never. So I want you to think about that. She was smart enough to hold on to those royalties, and so that he never has to work again. But you have to think that thing's worldwide. I even give you a story of Pusha T, who he actually made a mistake once. McDonald's hired him to do something for them. Did y'all know that Pusha T wrote the "I'm Loving It" jingle?
No. Wow.
They paid him $500,000. If he would have not taken the $500,000 and took the percentage that he could have gotten, he would have got $12 to $16 million off that alone, and still be making money into perpetuity.
You know who else that happened to is the house and techno scene. A guy named Neil Rushton came over, and all those house music, the EDM music that you hear right now that's over in overseas, started in Chicago and Detroit by Black artists. A guy named Kevin Saunderson of Inner City, and they had a hit called "Good Life." You know, good life, good life, good life, good life. That was a hit song at the time. Neil Rushton found out about the techno scene and started to bring people over there, and he was getting paying people $500 per record.
Oh yeah, because people don't understand the music industry and the business, and you know, I always try to tell people, I work with an artist in Dallas named Seven the Great, and I just say, man, you're too seasoned up on an artist, you know too much. They want to sign people that they can take advantage of, because when you know too much, you're gonna push back. I was just watching some earlier today about Prince and Alexander O'Neal. People don't know that Alexander O'Neal, number one, was the first person to sell out Wembley Stadium in London, 86,000 seats, 7 nights in a row. He was the first person to do that. But he was supposed to be the lead singer of the group at the time. And when they came over, and he said, yeah, Prince is signing us, man, we get ready to record. And Prince O'Neal came over and said, okay, where's my money? I need my money, man. I need my paper. I need a house. I need a car. And the room got quiet. And then they had to call Alexander O'Neal the next day and tell him that he had been fired from the band because he did not want to be in the band under the terms that Prince had. And of course, Morris Day ended up being the lead singer at the time. And later on, Morris Day was complaining about not getting paid. Alexander O'Neal went on and made lots of money and did well until he started using drugs. But that's a story of how people wanted to take advantage of you. And Prince and Michael Jackson, believe it or not, they got extremely smart about what they were doing. There's a story of him and Paul McCartney, why him and Paul McCartney didn't talk anymore. It's because Paul McCartney leaked to him that McCartney was getting ready to buy the rights to the Beatles. Michael Jackson went in and outbid Paul McCartney for the rights to the Beatles, just because Paul McCartney told him he was gonna buy it. Michael was shrewd, and so between Michael's catalog and the Beatles catalog, Sony, that's why Catherine and them just sold the catalog for $750 million, because Michael was shrewd. And some of these artists, some of the Black artists were not always dumb. Michael was shrewd. Prince of it being up really, really shrewd. And some of the other people ended up being really, really shrewd businessmen, and they made a lot of money. But a lot of these artists got taken advantage of, and that's just part of how it was in music. But now they take advantage of you in streaming now. But have
you heard of the death clause? I mean, you see that a lot of these artists that pass away, there was this label, I forget what it's called.
PRE?
It's what is the label that people were dropping dead on that label?
PRE. Paper Route Entertainment is the label that had Young Dolph on it.
Empire Records. Yeah. Have you heard of that one?
Basically, yeah.
The same company? Okay, so basically what I heard is that
Paper Route Empire.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I heard that their particular label have this death clause, but I think all of them have this death clause. So they have a insurance policy that you don't even know about.
Yeah.
That if something happens to you, that they get the money and it doesn't have to go to your family. It goes straight to the record label. So
there's been a lot of people doing that, buying these policies, life insurance policies on these rappers. If I had a rap label with the way these dudes are doing out here, I'll buy an insurance policy on them too. I'm investing a lot of money in them. They still owe me money in recruitment. I'm going to put a life insurance policy on them. I have to, with the way that things are happening in the music industry right now. But once again, African-American artists got to start learning how to grind on their own. People like Young Dolph, even though he was signed to that record label, he had a different kind of deal. People like Slim Thug, they own everything that they do. Slim Thug owns everything he does. Slim Thug's not signed by anybody. Even Nipsey Hussle at the end, Nipsey Hussle owned everything he ever did except for the last Victory Lap album. That was a 50-50 joint venture with Epic. And so people have to understand that there's benefits to doing stuff like that. Like, for example, when Nipsey Hussle died and Cardi B, of course, was hot at the time, who would you say had more money? Who's worth more money? People didn't really know about Nipsey Hussle. Before Nipsey Hussle died, if he would have never got shot, who you think at the time had more money? Probably Cardi B, right? She's a more popular artist, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't. He had more money than she did because he owned his masters. And that's the kind of thought. He was an independent artist that did a lot of these mixtapes and owned more of his masters. So that's the thing. And somebody said Clive Davis was responsible for Sam Cooke's demise. Yeah, there's a story. There's a story behind a lot of this, a lot of the stuff that happened in music. I still remember, if everybody remembers the 5 Heartbeats, right? Has everybody here saw the 5 Heartbeats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Big Red. One of my office hours, 9 to 5. 9 to 5. But there's a story. Those stories are hanging people out of the window, bullying them. That's the kind of stuff that they did back in the day. I mean, they were on that time. Like, they really had a lot of power. And there were a lot of stories of stuff happening to artists, them getting rid of artists to make sure if the artist was trying to come back and take money back and do all these accountings and looking at the books and all this stuff, they were not going to have that. And so they probably would get rid of you back in the day. But that's a conversation. I know we've kind of segued into something a little different, but I'm actually enjoying the music talk because I love it.
One question is that, and then this is like another tinfoil hat discussion. Jay-Z and Tory Lanez. So people are believing that Roc Nation is behind Tory Lanez going to prison because he wouldn't sign to Roc Nation. Do you think that there's any truth in that with the Desiree Jones situation, that she was kind of like a ruthless, like CEO and this, that, the other?
Tory Lanez put himself in a position with them that he shouldn't put himself into. And I was trying to tell people, as an artist, you got to be careful about situations you get yourself into. You got to get focused. When you get in the music industry and you have an opportunity to make certain amounts of money, you need to get focused and make every amount of money that you can make. I'll give an example. There's a rapper named Big Sean. Remember Big Sean?
Yes.
He did this video called What a Year. He came out with a song, I'm about to hit the light switch, and it was for Pharrell. And he did a song called What a Year, What a Year. And literally what he did is he did a video showing what he did for a whole year. And the reason why I'm having this conversation with y'all is you go through a 365-day process. There was never more than 2 days or 2 or 3 days where he wasn't making money with his music. He was either doing concerts, podcasts, making the show appearances. So for a whole year, from January all the way to December, he traveled the world performing. And I want y'all to think about that. $50,000, $60,000 to $100,000 a show. And that whole year, he probably did 100 shows, 110 shows. He probably did another 20 appearances in places where they had to pay him 10 to 20K. I want y'all to think about that, how much money he made. And the reason why I respect Big Sean, because I watched this video and I counted all the places he had been. And I started doing the math of, okay, he made 50,000 that week. Maybe he made 150,000 that week. He made 200,000 that week. He made at least 100,000 that week. So when you think about that and you go times 52, and he's hot for a whole year. If you're working and doing what the hell you're supposed to do, and let's say out of that 150,000 a week, you keep it 100K. Think about what you're making 100K a week. It's $5.2 million at the end of the year. That's because you realized you were big, you had a record, you worked it, and you didn't go around doing a bunch of silly stuff, like wasting your time partying in nightclubs. You're doing shows, and you're making sure that you're making your money. Artists got to be smart, and they got to get out there and start doing stuff like that.
Okay, so we have narratives and dialogues.
My man, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you gentlemen doing today? This was a really good topic. Several topics. A very good broadcast, and I'm very proud of my girl DJ Genesis because of what you guys have going right here. I mean, I thought it was a live broadcast. I mean, as in a news, like as in you being like in a newsroom or something. But this was really good, man. So I'm just gonna sit back and listen, and I'll chime in, whenever you have a question, or if I have a question.
Man, it's no problem. We love people to come in. If y'all listening, tune in to us every Sunday night, 8 o'clock New York time, 7 o'clock Central time. Of course, do your computations using the time zones. But we talk about a lot of issues, a lot of legal issues, especially current events. We talk about Trump. We talk about legal issues. Tonight, we just happen to segue into music. And I've been blessed to be around some people in music. I've been blessed to actually know some people that have done well. I actually went to in high school, because I was a magnet school student. I knew Erykah Badu, and I remember her when she used to rap. Like, people don't understand, like, when she raps, they go like, "Oh, she busts a rap." No, she used to rap for real. I mean, and so she's really good as a hip hop artist. And so I was always intrigued by music. I love music. I later on in life got to meet Scarface. Shout out to Scarface. Shout out to Brad Jordan. One of my friends actually does cruises with Brad, and Brad actually did another show that I used to do. I got to meet Scarface, have lunch and dinner with him, and spend a couple of occasions just being around Scarface. Scarface actually is my second favorite rapper all time. My favorite rapper all time from the South. And I hate to say second, he'll probably get mad at me, but no, he won't. He's pretty confident in his ability. My favorite rapper of all time is Big Daddy Kane. So Kane is my guy. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet. He came to the State Fair of Texas once. I tried to track him down, but I didn't get the opportunity to meet him. But that's one of my things on my life bucket list that I got to make happen. So
I want to ask you a question,
yes,
Calvin. What do you think about how the new generation of rappers now are? Back in the day, it used to be where when you had a rap beef, you would battle it out and it would be done, a one and done. Somebody took the L, they said, "Oh, well, LL Cool J, he won that." You remember the LL Cool J and Kumo D situation?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a one and done, man, and they shook after that. Right now what we're going through. What are we going through right now? With the Drake.
I'm sick. I'm sick of this drill rap. And number one, so that's one part of it, and I hate when these guys they beef against each other and it gets violent. And then sometimes, in the case of Drake and Kendrick, I enjoyed a lot of it that went back and forth. But when they start talking about people's wives and girlfriends and some of the other stuff, the allegations were thrown out, you got to be careful, man. You call somebody a pedophile, it's an issue. You start talking about Kendrick beating up his wife and that not being true, that's an issue. You got to be careful about how far you go with it when it comes to hip hop. But I enjoyed a lot of the beefing. I actually I enjoyed some of it because out of nature we enjoy it sometimes. I've actually enjoyed the Jim Jones Pusha T back and forth. So it's one of those things where I enjoy some of it. But now what I don't like is the drill rapper. These folks are talking about doing stuff to each other. See, back in the day, we're a little older. So when you talked about doing something to a man, nah, you can't do that. Because if you say you're going to do something to me, I'm going to come looking for you first, because I'm not going to be worrying about where you at. I just got to come find you. So that's how we were. We were in a different mode back when we were younger. So these young folks, they live by a different creed. They do a lot of stuff different.
Well, what I look at now too, again, when there was a back and forth, it started like back in the day with Roxanne Shante, Kango Kid, all those, I'm talking about the earliest of hip hop, and I'm not that old myself, but I studied because, I was in the music business myself, and, I was on a record label, so I know, but I'm looking at, how someone would start something like Drake, but and then he'll tell you how hard to hit him back with something. I have a problem with that. Drake is just he's not making, and no shade to the light-skinned brothers, but he's not making it look good for them right now.
Oh God, you know what? It's funny, man. You know what I try to tell people, man, like people like Kendrick, man, you gotta leave him alone, man. You just you don't want to smoke with that guy. That guy, I try to tell people, man, some of the stuff that he some of the stuff he says and how thought out his bars are. I go back and listen to his songs and I'm still catching stuff that other people didn't catch. He also has a song with the Clips called Chains and Whips.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Oh, you got to listen to it. When you think about it, and I want you to think about it, Chains and Whips, right?
Yeah.
What do we always talk about in hip hop? Chains and whips.
Oh, yeah.
What held us back in the day? chains, and whips. So you think about it, that guy, you can't listen. Like that's the kind of stuff I go like, wow. But at the same time, Drake has done a lot of music. He has a lot of hits. He got a little sensitive at the end because Kendrick he had the whole country talking about Not Like Us. And then, hey man, he actually went and got our boy DeMar DeRozan from Toronto, who's probably one of the greatest Toronto basketball players ever. And then actually brought him to LA and said we had to bring D Rose home. I actually used to work with Chris Bosh back in the day. So I actually got to meet DeMar DeRozan when he was with the Raptors a little bit, met him. He came to the All-Star party here in Dallas. But DeMar DeRozan is a good dude. But when you start getting personal like that, man, he had the whole country, the whole world rocking out to Not Like Us, man. That's hard to take for anybody.
Well, the thing is, you can't be a cosplay 1 minute, and then when somebody whap and tap on your head about a certain situation, you want to go with your other side. See, and that's one thing about him. And he does this. I'm not black, but he turn around and when it's convenient. And the thing is, we got to stop being the entertainment value for everybody. That's why right now you have so-called people out here saying, "Oh, hip hop is dead." Hip hop has never been dead. I put something in the chat earlier that Genesis had put up, but I didn't think y'all got a chance to read it. But real hip hop is the only genre of music that has never been able to, be celebrated. And when I say real hip hop, I'm not talking about bubblegum. I'm talking about what producers told real stories, where they battled it out and rap back and forth, and ain't no, hey, I'm gonna meet up with you. I think we should have learned the lesson through the situation with Tupac and Biggie. And when I look at 50 Cent and Rick Ross, it looked like they should know better. You know what I'll tell you. I'm a hip hop kind of head where I literally pay attention to lyrics, right? I like lyrical hip hop. And to me, that's the purest form. My guy, Seven the Great here in Dallas, does a great job. And there's also a guy named Picasso Verbadelic. And so I want you to think about that. That when that brother rap, I ain't gonna lie, he sends me to this encyclopedia. Brother made me go to the encyclopedia. And he's such a wordsmith. And these guys, I love real hip hop. I love the wordplay. I love the creativity. We don't always got to talk about death. We don't always have to talk about killing people. We don't always have to talk about sex. The sexy reds and a lot of the drill rap, I can't do. I think that's mindless. I think it does our community a disservice. And I think that we got to get away from that. Yeah,
I was gonna say something real quick. Is that my child's father is about 10 from Slum Village. If you ever heard of them, he was a part of the OK Player tour with the Roots.
Love Slum Village.
Yeah, child's father by 10, he passed away. And MJ Dilla, and he was a great producer. He produced a lot of Air Combat.
God, J Dilla. Oh, J Dilla.
Jackson.
Yes.
So that was a time frame that was really amazing. But then you came up with this hip hop police thing. And now you see a lot of rappers ending up in Rico court. You have I think YNF Melly case that just passed. And I think also, I didn't even realize that the other guy, young, what's his name? What's the guy?
Young Thug.
Yeah, he just recently got let off for a Rico. It seems
they're doing right.
Fat Joe is gotten a Rico. So I'm like,
now, if they're doing Young Thug, they're releasing all his jail calls, and he's just talking crap about everybody.
What?
It's very sad. It's very sad, but nobody's going to want to work with him anymore.
But it's also not safe for him.
It's also like the mafia. Do you think this is like some kind of organized crime thing that's connected to hip hop that we just can't get away from? Because even with Rough Riders, what's his name? Irv Gotti, wasn't he tied up in some
But he beat the case. But I think ultimately, we got to blame ourselves. We got to take control of this genre, and we got to quit. We got to understand. That's why I encourage all of you tonight that are watching this. Denzel and Spike Lee's movie Highest to the Lowest. Y'all need to go watch that because it's more. And I love the fact that they did a low key release, but it's really talking about hip hop, and y'all really need to go watch it. Y'all really do.
We're gonna like probably do a put together some like kind of showing where y'all like viewing or something where we all go get together and talk about that, because yeah, we talked about sinners. We need to get like Spike Lee needs to be definitely supported because he has put out some really good movies over time that really were thought provoking. Do you know that he actually was the one who wrote The Butt? Well, he actually was the one who remember the song The Butt?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't write it. Marcus Miller, believe it or not, Marcus Miller had a hand in writing that song The Butt.
Well, I think he told him, I want you to make a song called The Butt.
Something like that. Yeah, but yeah, Marcus Miller, I listen to a lot of jazz. He's a bassist. Marcus Miller, who is a jazz legend, who actually played a lot for Luther Vandross back in the day, was Luther Vandross's boy. It was Luther Vandross's go-to for bass playing, and so it was a great story. And I also love the story of do y'all know who Juju Smith is?
No.
Okay, y'all need to understand who Juju Smith is. Juju Smith is the guy who played the guitar lick, all those great guitar licks for Tony.
Oh yeah, I know you talking about.
He played anniversary.
What? I thought that was Raphael Sadiq.
No, he played the guitar licks. The guitar licks are his. Guitar licks are his. He actually played for Maze and Frankly Beverly. Golden Time of Day. There's a video where he's playing live Golden Time of Day when Frankie Beverly couldn't sing anymore. They would play a lot of the musicians, and he goes on this guitar lick rant, and literally the crowd goes wild because he really is the man when it comes to that damn guitar. He is the man. I mean, when you play something as iconic as the opening to Anniversary, which we all know, he played that. He played the opening to Just Me and You for the Higher Learning movie with Tony did. He played one of Alicia Keys' hits, I think Diary. He played the bass lick for that. So he's a legend. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, Jubu is a legend. He really is. Jubu, I know Jubu. He is a legend. He's from out here in Oakland and San Francisco area. And it was more than just who you saw as Tony. All of them boys grew up together in Richmond. Yeah. And a few of them, they had a few good guitar players that were on those albums, but only Jubu and Raphael Sadiq were the ones that got recognized the most. Yeah,
man, Jubu was just like amazing. I showed a white guy one time. There's a bass guitar player that kind of played in his band. He looked at Jubu play that solo and was like, "Oh my God, this guy! Did you see him change his tone? I've never seen anybody do that." And it's one of those things where in music, we talk about somebody. I want to go to one of the comments, and I can say Frankie Beverly was the truth. Loved his voice. Frankie was the truth. Frankie was a vocalist that everybody looked up to. There was a story of Joe, Joe Thomas, Joe, the singer Joe. And Joe, Frankie was his mentor. And Frankie said, "Joe, you want to be professional and you want to be young and wise, not old and wise." And he wondered, what do you mean? He said, "You want to be wise enough younger so you could benefit off of it." And so those are one of the things that he talked about, Frankie Beverly. So shout out to Frankie Beverly. Shout out to Jubu Smith.
And thinking of Frankie Beverly, I also would like to add in Al Jarreau, because a lot of people don't. Yes, Al Jarreau, Lou Rawls.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about You Will Never Find in my house. Man, when they did the NCF every year, man, my mother would run to the living room. I run to the living room. I'm like, "Mama, you gonna do the song? You will never find." We watch it, and that was one of the greatest days as a kid, being in the house watching Lou Rawls. But I'll tell y'all one thing. We have this conversation. I had somebody have a conversation with me. They said, discography, Luther Vandross or Jeffrey Osborne? And somebody quickly said Luther, and then they start thinking about it.
Luther only did covers, right? I just now figured out that
Luther has some good songs. Don't get me wrong, but I want you to think
they were all covers. I thought
Luther was a background singer first, way before, and he was actually a very shy person, and he would never come out on stage. He would sing behind the curtain behind Dionne Warwick.
But when I thought about Jeffrey Osborne, people don't understand. Like, he was the lead singer for LTD. He had all those hits by himself. He had hits in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So people talk about Jeffrey. People don't understand like how much Jeffrey Osborne as a vocalist was just amazing. And not saying that Luther wasn't, but when you start thinking about him being in LTD, and you start thinking about him having hits in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, hey man, that's a great conversation. But listen, y'all, it's 2:05. I try not to be on her no longer than 2 hours and 5 minutes. We had a great conversation tonight. We were actually talking about legalities in music. So the weekly legal review kind of went over into music tonight. But one of the things we want to do, if y'all want us to talk about certain things, contact Mel at watchingtheworld777. Say, we would like to hear you talk about this. We would like to hear you address this. The weekly legal review, we're very interactive. We want you to keep talking about this. If you want us to talk about music again, we can mix 30 minutes to an hour of that in. If you want to talk Donald Trump, if you want to talk current events, hit Mel at watchingtheworld777 on his YouTube channel, his comment section. Hit DJ Genesis Detroit in her comment section. Email attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com, or hit me on theywon'tletmeout.com, or hit me on my phone and tell us what you want us to talk about. If you see a video that you would love us to comment on, hey, we'll play it, we'll go through it, and I will give you some insight on the video. Mel knows how to ask the questions. DJ Genesis will bring people up in the comment section and produce the show. If y'all want to hear more, we do this show for you. We want the weekly legal review to be your place to come for legal advice. We want it to be a place to come where you learn something new that you didn't learn before, or even like tonight, if you wanted us to talk about legality in music and that kind of stuff, we're willing to do shows like that as well. So just give us a call, hit us on Facebook, hit us up on YouTube, DJ Genesis, as well as Watching the World 777. Come and enjoy us, and we do the show every week. I'm gonna let Mel take us out. What do you got for us, Mel?
All right.
One quick question. Do you also, on top of being a criminal law attorney, also do entertainment law? So should we add that on to there?
I do that sometimes for people, depending on the situation. I do some entertainment law. All right.
And I wanted to introduce myself to the other brother because he didn't speak about music at all. I could tell this is probably not his thing. But Mel, nice to meet you, brother. I like I like what you talked about while I was in the chat, and I know DJ Genesis, so she brought me up. I'm also a content creator and a filmmaker, so I know all the things y'all talking about, and I wouldn't mind coming back up again when y'all have a show.
Yeah, man, let me tell you what we're going to do next time. Next time, though, we like people to come on with their faces on. So next time, we'll get you on the show one day when we talk about music. We want to get your face up, get the lights on you so people know you are when they see you. It helps you and your channel, and we want to try to keep the channel professional. So that's what we're going to do moving forward. But next time we have a music show, brother, we'll call you back. And that's the other thing about our show. We're willing to bring other content creators on from time to time. We're willing to help some folks sometimes as well. We just want you to come rock out with us. We want you to suggest our channel to other people because we want to work with you and we want to provide the best legal advice in the game. Once again, Mel, nobody else. Mel, take us out.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning into the channel. We have a lot of moderators. Don't want to leave them out that keep the comment section going and everything in line. We had Mashona, Bordeaux. We have Naki. We had so many JDP, so many of you guys. It's also quite a rare privilege to have a criminal defense attorney, Calvin Johnson, come on every week for the legal review. Think about the major credit that he's given toward each and every one of us to give us the opportunity to ask questions that may affect your life. We know that the legalities and there's so many questions that we have, and we thank you, Calvin. So thank you very much for that. We thank DJ Genesis for producing the show, and we look forward to next week. We'll have the show 7 o'clock Central Time and also 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But throughout the week, we will also bring you the latest news and talk about great topics that we all can benefit from. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you to everybody who hit the like, share, and subscribe to someone else. And like I said, we appreciate each and every one of you and each comment, and thank you for being cordial with one another. We will definitely catch you next week at the same time for the weekly legal review. Until then, be safe and stay in tune with Watching the World 777. by means of Calvin Johnson. And also you can go and check out and like, share, and subscribe DJ Genesis of Detroit on YouTube. Thank you, guys.
Y'all take care, fellas and ladies.